Welcome to this explainer. Okay, picture this for a second. You're in a deep, peaceful sleep, and then, boom, your eyes just snap open. You squint at your clock in the dark, and the glowing numbers read exactly 3 a.m. It's the absolute dead of night. The world outside is perfectly still, and you are completely, undeniably awake. It feels almost intentional, doesn't it? Well, today we're exploring the fascinating mechanics behind this incredibly common, universally jarring moment. So let's dive into this. Why are you awake at 3 a.m.? Is it just some random glitch in your internal system? Or is there a specific reason your brain decides to power on when the rest of your hemisphere is powered down? What makes this explainer so exciting is that we're going to look at this mystery through two totally different lenses that are actually trying to explain the exact same experience. We've got a rich, ancient spiritual perspective on one hand and a really fascinating, concrete biological perspective on the other. Both offer incredibly compelling answers. Let's get into it. Section 1. The Spiritual Fourth Watch. So, throughout history, the night has never just been about, getting some sleep. It's actually been mapped out, categorized, and assigned some really deep spiritual significance. To understand this, we've got to look at how the night was historically divided. Biblically speaking, the night is broken up into specific blocks called watches. And the period right between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., that's known as the fourth watch. You can actually find this mentioned directly in texts like Mark 13:35. In many spiritual traditions, this specific window isn't just late at night. It's widely believed to be the absolute peak of spiritual activity, both good and bad. It's viewed as a time of intense spiritual traffic, where the veil between the physical and the spiritual is, well, at its thinnest. Because of this, believers see waking up during this window not as a random accident, but as a direct call to action. And this brings us to a really powerful concept from the book of Job, chapter 38, verse 12, commanding the morning. The whole idea here is that by being awake and active before the sun even thinks about coming up, you're taking spiritual control of your day before it even begins. Across lots of different traditions, you'll hear countless testimonies from folks who claim that prayers made during the specific 3 a.m. hour just seem to bring faster answers and greater breakthroughs. You're essentially getting a head start, speaking your intentions into the absolute quietest moments of the morning to set the tone for everything else that follows. And here is where the practice gets highly strategic. In a lot of Nigerian churches, for instance, there's a very specific teaching around this. The belief is that negative spiritual activities, things like evil projections, spiritual attacks, or enforcing negative covenants, typically happen between midnight and 3 a.m. So waking up right at 3 a.m. to engage in what's called warfare prayer is basically seen as the ultimate counteroffensive. You're stepping right into that peak spiritual traffic to push back against any negativity projected during the night. It's an intense, super focused period of seeking divine direction and breaking barriers, all while the rest of the world is fast asleep. Section 2. Biology of the 3 a.m. Mind. Now, let's flip the script completely and move from the spiritual realm straight into the concrete, physiological realm. Because, as it turns out, science also has a very specific explanation for why your eyes are popping open at this exact hour. Deep inside your body, there's this invisible chemical push and pull happening that completely dictates your sleep cycle. Let's break down the 3 a.m. biological clock. First off, by the time 3 a.m. rolls around, your body's levels of melatonin, that hormone that makes you sleepy, they begin to drop off pretty significantly. At the exact same time, cortisol, which is your stress and wakefulness hormone, starts its gradual rise to get you ready for the morning. Because of this hormonal shift, your brain naturally shifts into a much lighter stage of sleep. So if there's even a slight drop in temperature, a tiny noise outside, or just a natural pause in your sleep cycle, you don't just briefly stir, you wake up fully. And thanks to this specific chemical cocktail flowing through you, your mind feels uniquely alert and highly reflective. Plus, think about the actual environment you're waking up into. Consider the utter chaos of, say, 2 p.m. You've got overwhelming problems, endless phone notifications pinging away, and if you're in a bustling city, you're dealing with the roaring horns of Lagos traffic. It is loud. Your brain is just constantly filtering out garbage. But at 3 a.m., zero distractions. I mean, total perfect silence. Problems that felt completely insurmountable at 2 in the afternoon suddenly feel manageable. Why? Simply because your brain finally has the unbroken bandwidth to process them with deep, uninterrupted clarity. Section 3. The Power of Quiet Habits. Now, this is where we get to bring both of these fascinating lenses together. Because whether you're leafing through ancient texts or a modern biology textbook, the underlying mechanics of this hour lead us to the exact same powerful result. And this brilliantly illustrates how faith and science actually describe the exact same benefits, just using entirely different vocabularies. Look at this framework. In the spiritual framework, you're engaging in warfare prayers. Over in the psychological framework, you're engaging in deep problem solving. Spiritually, it's about hearing God clearly because the world is so quiet. Psychologically, it's about having fewer mental distractions so you can actually process your own thoughts. Spiritually, you're seeking divine direction. Practically, you might just be sitting down for some focused journaling to plan your life out. The actions and the environments are identical. It's literally just the framework that changes. So what is the real magic of 3 a.m.? Well, it boils down to these core elements right here. It's the deep quietness and clarity that's virtually impossible to find during daylight hours. It's the absolute freedom from modern distractions, because let's be real, absolutely no one is emailing you at 3 a.m. But honestly, most importantly, it's about building powerful, habitual discipline. Consistently waking up, whether that's to pray or to journal, builds a rock-solid routine. And that routine itself, the sheer discipline of commanding your morning, is what ultimately transforms your mindset. It forges a sharper, far more focused version of you.
Section 4. Faith, Science, and You.
So we've looked at the spiritual traffic of the fourth watch, and we've mapped out the biological spikes of cortisol. But what does all this actually mean for your day-to-day life? Well, here is the absolute bottom line from our source material. Scientifically speaking, there's no peer-reviewed proof that something supernatural specifically happens at 3 a.m. versus, say, 3 p.m. But honestly, focusing on that almost misses the point entirely. Because the practical impact, that absolutely cannot be ignored. The profound quiet is real. The chemical alertness is real. If utilizing this hour helps you feel connected, if it grounds you, and if it brings you deep focus to tackle your life, then that positive effect is entirely 100% real for you. The true value lies in the undeniable personal clarity it grants you. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Tonight, or maybe next week, when that universally jarring moment inevitably happens again, when your eyes snap open in the absolute dead of night and the clock reads exactly 3 a.m., what are you going to do with that quiet? Will you see it merely as a shift in your biological clock? Just a chemical nudge to roll over and try to get back to sleep? Or will you see it as a spiritual invitation, a rare, silent opportunity to command your morning, find your clarity, and take total control of your day before the rest of the world even wakes up? The choice, sitting there in the perfect quiet of the night, is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.